Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! And Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Thanks a lot for joining us. Welcome in. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Monday, June 24th, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymoorehonda.com where you get more to your door and the best in new and used vehicles. And, of course, the Endeavor Hospitality Group, wealth and family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, all the way down to Anna Maria Island, where you can find the Ugly Grouper. But make sure you stop by great places like the Chop Shop that has the great BB's Market inside of it and Chop Shop Steakhouse. So get by there. John Boyd with me as always. Looking forward to having Dustin Dopirak on. Plenty to talk about over the weekend. If you're a baseball fan, of course, the Reds and the Braves had a great series. The Reds end up not winning that series, of course, but they got the win streak up to 12 games with an incredible game on Friday night. That was a wild game. Then they lose 2 7-6 games, I think, to lose the series. But, man, just fun for if you're a Cincinnati fan. College World Series tonight, a winner-take-all between Florida and LSU. That has been another incredible series. The entire College World Series has been awesome. One-run games until yesterday when Florida, in a close game, just erupted. And a grand slam home run did not hurt their cause at all. I didn't even see the final score, but it was getting up there when I stopped seeing it. Forrest is up in B-Town. How you doing, Forrest? Appreciate you. And everybody else hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. I saw a stat by Fred a little bit ago, kind of funny relating to baseball. The first place Minnesota Twins and the last place Boston Red Sox from the first place Twins of the American League Central and the last place Boston Red Sox of the American League East had the same records. John Boyd, what do you think of that? I know you're busy, but that's
that's nuts. I'm actually, one thing I was going to want to talk about here, I'm uploading something, obviously, and I don't want to get us off course, but I've got some photos that I'm going to put on here of the Pete Dye course after the storms that came through yesterday. And we can talk about that in a little bit.
It's right. Tornado warnings up in the Bloomington area. Forgot about that. Hope everybody's okay and everyone got through that all right. But, yeah. Forgot about that.
I know I got you off track, but that's what I was doing. So that's where my train of thought was whenever you came to me.
Yeah, I screwed up your train of thought only to have my own. So I'm the undoing of my own side. I'm the source of my own undoing, I guess is the best way to put that. But
we're talking about two teams with the same record.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was talking about the Fred had made on the Andy Moore Honda hotline made a post that talking about the last place Boston Red Sox, who were in the American League East, had the same record as the American League Central leading Minnesota Twins. It's mind-boggling. That's
mind-boggling.
But what's even more mind-boggling is I said a minute ago I didn't see the final score of yesterday's game. And I'm looking, there we go. Okay. LSU was leading 1-0 after one. After 2 innings complete, it was 3-1. That would be the last and closest LSU gets to LSU got to Florida yesterday. The very next inning, Florida scored 6. They add another one in the 4th. They add 5 more in the 6th, 2 more in the 7th, 4 more in the 8th, and 5 more in the 9th to win yesterday's game 24-4.
Something about LSU's offense. I mean, I know college baseball is a lot more of an offensive game than the pro game, but this LSU, I mean, I hate to make a comparison to a different sport, but it reminds me of LSU's football offense when Joe Burrow was playing for them. It's just insane. It feels like whenever they get on a roll, it's hard to stop.
They look like a minor league baseball team, though, with some of those guys at the plate. But my God, this has been a series of nothing but one-run games. And wow, that output is just mind-boggling. Wow, 24 runs. Holy smokes. How do you come back from that? I mean, they knew they had to hold a pitcher or 2 back. So, man, 23 hits. LSU only had 7 hits on the day. They did have 5 errors. Things just start compounding. We'll talk to Kevin Brockway, whether it's today or tomorrow. He's still in Omaha, covering the College World Series, covering the Florida Gators, and potentially a national championship. And after yesterday's output, that's going to be hard to imagine them not winning. How about?
I've got those photos uploaded of the Pete Dye course from the hail damage. If you want to take a look at that,
absolutely,
we don't have to.
Obviously,
yeah, so obviously,
those of you on radios, not you can see.
Yeah, but there's for those of you who can't see, there are holes. Like it looks like hundreds, maybe even thousands of holes on the greens of the Pete Dye course. And this is another example for those of you on YouTube.
Well, that's a shot of the actual hail right beside. But yeah, to describe what John was put up first, it looked like you know how the divots are. It looked like this is on the fairway, I believe. This is not even on a green, but it looks like on a fairway that divots that are left on the green from approach shots, but these look like divots from baseballs.
Okay, and that's French. So Pete Dye's in French Lick, right?
Yes.
French Lick did get baseball-sized hail and tennis ball size. I guess they're about the same, but that's what they experienced down there in French Lick yesterday.
Well, that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like you were wedging up, hitting wedge shots with 150-yard wedge shots with baseballs. Wild. Oscar Tshiebwe signs with the Pacers. See what Dustin's take on that is. Looking forward to talking to him about the post-draft comings and goings. What do you all think about that? He was the former college basketball player of the year. Didn't have that same year last year, but it wasn't that it was bad. He also had Zach Edey, who was getting a lot of attention. But he should do well for the Pacers, but it's probably as good as they could do, but I don't know, but he doesn't strike me as a guy who is going to take off and lead a franchise, which I'm not saying anyone said that he was. It was the best pick they could get because numbers wise.
I've got another thing. Oh, go ahead. Finish up.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay. So yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, Jim. Former 5-star guard, formerly with Alabama as well, enters the transfer portal. Javon Quinterly could be of interest to Indiana basketball, as they are obviously still trying to figure out if they're going to fill that final scholarship. And that seems like somebody who would fit the bill nicely, as Indiana does need to fill someone at that guard spot.
And not only that,
somebody at that guard spot.
He would be coming from an offense that is not shy about shooting the three-point shot. One that is actually really encouraged I mean, that's kind of what their offense is built on. But
he started 27 games last year, averaged 13.8 points, a little over 4.2 assists. And he actually began his career at Villanova. So I do believe, I don't know if he wouldn't have to sit out a year, would he?
He has to be, first of all, he has to be a grad transfer.
For him to have immediate eligibility.
For him to be able to enter the portal this late.
Well, you can enter the portal whenever you want, correct? But
Well,
it's just
you
a matter
can
of
if
when
you
you have to.
You can. Man, it's so confusing.
I know.
You've got, all right, so this guy has already transferred once. So his free transfer is not available. But if he is a graduate student, I believe that he is able to do that. He'll be fine. He'll be able to.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, given his status as a graduate transfer, he won't need a waiver. So there we go. Which is perfect for what Indiana really is looking for. They want a one-year guy who can fill that scholarship spot, that can provide production, potentially as a starter, because we all know that spot, that 2 spot with Trey Galloway is kind of up in the air, and that's kind of the hole that you want to fill. And Quinterly could be that piece that Indiana needs to solidify the roster for next season.
And that's the only kind of a transfer they probably could have gotten, a something late like this, a grad transfer that can do this, because the options were virtually not very many of them. So,
and the other best case scenario would be, and I don't think anything has there. I guess there has been one elite for sure exit from West Virginia from that fallout with Kurt Krissa. He was originally going to be transferring there from West Virginia or from Arizona.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Back in the portal. So,
well, that's why would that not be an option either? But what year is he?
Actually, no, hold on. So that was announced last week. As of yesterday, Chris announced he's going to stay at West Virginia. So
man, you got me all kinds of confused this morning, John.
I know. Well, I've got myself all kinds of confused because I do remember Krissa being in the portal last week. I didn't know that he decided he was going to end up staying at West Virginia. But that's what we've come to expect from the era of the transfer portal. There's nothing clear cut and dry about it.
Yeah, well, it's turned everything upside down, which some is in a good way and some not, but it's the way it is. So we have to accept it and deal with it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. We've got to take a break. Dustin Dopirak will be joining us next. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market.
So we will have one more solo segment before Dopirak, but he will be at 9:10.
Oh, okay.
I may ask him if he wants to move up to do 8:50 to 9:30, just because of the nature of having him for 2 segments. At least until Don Fisher comes back in August.
Or we can just get somebody else.
Either or.
But yeah, I would prefer not having 2 empty segments in the.
Especially to start. Yeah, I agree. Oh, here we go.
With Dr. Hops' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It's Monday, June 24th. Thanks a lot for being with us. Appreciate you very much. Hope everyone had a great weekend, ready to start the week. Race Thompson be playing the Knicks Summer League team. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Charlie Hughes Running Slam over the weekend as well. Jalen Harrelson, it's still, man, I cannot. This guy is 6'8", a 6'8" point guard. He's just something. Has been a target for Indiana for a while. Now he's a target of a lot of people, but he's a 25 class of 25 kid. But 6'8", this guy is, and a pure point guard. That is, you don't see the likes of that. I mean, you think back of people like Magic Johnson. He was 6'9". But he's the real deal. Harrelson is the real deal. Plays for Fishers, Indiana High School. Led his team to a 4-0 record over the weekend. That's pretty daggone good. These were all team events, by the way, and not AAU events. So he played with his Fishers team in that. Indiana assistant coach Brian Walsh was there to take it in. See, what did he do over the weekend there? I'm trying to find his stats, but he's just something, man. He's been a tough target for Indiana, along with Trent Sisley, who plays at is it Heritage Hills, I believe. Race Thompson is going to play in the New York Knicks Summer League, which I can't wait for that to get started. We got some fun things that are coming up. The TBT, the Summer League, the NBA Summer League. You'll see no less than 3 Hoosiers in there. And maybe,
is Maurice Creek still with sideline cancer?
Oh, you're talking TBT?
Oh,
yeah. I would think. Yeah, I would think. I don't know. I've reached out to him and see. It's a good question.
You're referring to the Summer League.
Yeah. But that's going to be fun to watch for people. For Indiana fans, you'll have plenty to watch with Race Thompson getting an opportunity to try to make their roster. All right, here's a question. Who has the better chance? Although we heard that Trace's pick, Zach said that, under his belief that Trace was picked with purpose, and the plan is for him to be on the roster, not for him to make the roster, that he is basically on the roster. Now, in professional sports, that changes a lot. I was talking about Trace Jackson Davis with Golden State. And so if that's the case, then boom. And then you automatically add Jalen Hood-Schifino to the roster of the LA Lakers. How good a shot does Race Thompson have of making a roster? One of the things that the knocks on Trace Jackson Davis has been his lack of shooting. Well, Race Thompson will shoot it. He has a shot. He's put up, not a great percentage, but he has the shot. That's something that those guys can work with. He's got the size. He has the ability to do some banging inside. He brings a lot of tools in his tool bag. And nobody expects him, so he probably will have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to try to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and he comes into the league as probably one of the oldest guys on a summer league roster, considering he did 6 years of college. And again, he knows that his time to, and I don't want to say necessarily time to shine, but his time to leave an impact on the NBA is going to be short. He's going to have to make the most of his opportunity while he has it. So I think if we're going to see Race Thompson do anything, it's going to be in these first couple of years. And it wouldn't surprise me if he puts up a good enough showing to make the Knicks roster.
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised either, because like I said, just having all of those tools already at his disposal, if they believe that obviously the ability is there, but if they think that he's someone that they can mold, he'll make the roster, man. At the very worst, maybe get a two-way.
Yep.
And so that would be a surprise. But that would jump the level of former Indiana players in the league up to 9 if that were to happen. Which is also a good recruiting tool.
Yep.
And something that I think would be touted. I don't know how many colleges would have that many or more. I mean, I know Kentucky has a lot of guys in the league because of the one and done era. And you would think the usual suspects, Duke, Kansas, etc. But there's not a ton. That's interesting. I'm going to have to research that. Who has the most and what are the numbers? You were going to say something?
Well, I don't know if you all talked about this last week, but you already mentioned Trace Jackson Davis and a little bit of Oscar Tshiebwe. And I know that there was a little bit of, I don't want to call it animosity per se, but Trace Jackson Davis didn't seem too happy about how he got passed up multiple times, specifically by the Pacers. And then when it's all said and done, Oscar Tshiebwe signs a two-way deal with the Pacers after the draft is completed. And I know there was a lot of talk about the fact that they didn't want Trace Jackson Davis to have the Dale Davis connection with the Pacers. Do you think that that's really what it was about? Or do you think that they just didn't want to sign Trace Jackson Davis with the Pacers?
I think the latter. They chose to work a deal with whom they thought was in the best interest of the franchise. That's just what they do. I mean, it's business. It's not about anything other than business. And Tshiebwe is just probably looked at it as having a little bit more potential, but not a ton.
Because the one thing I always felt like Trace Jackson Davis had better than Oscar Tshiebwe was the fact that he's way more athletic of a player. Tshiebwe has the body, and he's a great shot blocker, which Trace Jackson Davis is as well. But I feel like the athleticism of Trace would have made him a more favorable specimen, if you will, for somebody. I mean, obviously for any team that he gets on, but with the Pacers specifically, because I know that's what a lot of not only Pacers fans, but Indiana Hoosiers fans would have wanted to see as well, I'm sure.
I don't disagree with you there.
Especially when you consider the alternative is a Kentucky player.
Well, the good thing is, though, he's now an Indiana/Fort Wayne player.
That's true.
So the good folks up in Fort Wayne listening on 1380 The Fan, they'll see him, which makes their team better. So they've got a former player of the year coming.
That's right.
They're the same height, but it is But how much of a shooter is he? I didn't watch him.
Sheboy is not a shooter at all.
I was
Just
gonna
like Chris
say,
Jackson Davis. Neither one of them are known for shooting.
So that just comes down to whatever a GM thinks. They've broken him. What they've done is they've broken him down, and
well, that's where the talk of the Dale Davis stuff came in.
Well,
like, we really want to be involved with that.
That's actually very, very believable if this was a coin flip. But then on the other side, to me, giving him the opportunity wouldn't have been a bad thing either. I mean, that would have probably been cool for him, but also maybe it is better for him that he. Oh, that's right. Daggone it. All right, forgot. Here I stuck.
That's right. The Mad Ants no longer in Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I stuck my foot in my mouth on that one. I forgot already.
So will they be known as? Do we know what their new team name will be in Noblesville? Because I know that that's where they're based out of now.
I'm not sure, but I just want to apologize to everybody in Fort Wayne. I apologize for that. I forgot. So
it's still new, though. It's still new.
I slapped myself on the wrist. Apologize.
That's right.
My apologies. It was a bad move, but oh well. I disagree with them doing that. But I get it. Anyway, it's believable if it was a coin toss, and maybe he prefers to do his own thing, you would think, but obviously not. He was bothered that they didn't take him.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised that he's bothered by it, but it is.
I'm not sure if he accepted that or not, but.
And maybe, and it could be, and we'll never know this, but maybe they gave him his word, at least what could have been their word, and maybe he took it as they were for sure going to draft them in some way, shape, or form.
I don't know. I doubt that happened.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's what went down. I don't completely think that's probably what happened, but maybe they gave him enough confidence to where he thought that was going to come through. Who knows?
Yeah, well, you just gotta let it play out. But that's how.
And he may get his shot. I mean, obviously, Oladipo went to the Pacers for a short time. Some people enjoyed that, and maybe Trace will eventually get his shot with the Pacers, or maybe even Jalen Hood-Schifino. Who knows? Although I do believe Jalen Hood-Schifino is very happy about his landing spot with the Lakers.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, and I'll tell you why, whether the Lakers are at a point today of being able to compete for a net or a world championship, they're always gearing towards that.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that the Pacers don't want that. I'm not sure the ability to do that is different between those two franchises. The ability to achieve that is obviously easier for the Lakers, for LA to make that run than it is for Indiana, because they've rarely done it. It's rarely happened. They have trouble getting the stars to stay.
Yep.
That's gotta change. I mean, but with the style of play that has kind of changed in the pro game, I mean, it's not. I don't want to say it's closer to the college game, but with it moving that way, it might give more teams the ability to be competitive. And I think the NBA is getting closer to that. We'll see. But it'd be interesting Matt gave us a great number, and I've repeated it once or twice now, but that the NFL is proud that each year there's a minimum of 4 teams that make the playoffs that did not make the playoffs the year before. That shows constant growth, churning. That shows you're turning your product over. You don't have the same winners every year. Is the NBA that diverse? I'm not sure, but it's a little deeper. Tannis Half Elvin says Trace is set up for success with Golden State. He was chosen over Wiseman to make that roster spot, but Dunleavy Jr. also said Poole was going to start for them and was traded 3 days later. So there you go. But yeah, I think he couldn't have landed in a better place. As Zach Osterman said on this show Wednesday or last Friday, because of that. Because he was selected for a roster spot. Now, again, and I agree with exactly that part about things change quickly in the big boys league. So you never know what's going to happen. But he has the best chance probably to make the roster right where he is. He has – how many threes does Devontae Green shoot now? I know he shot them going into college, but does he put up probably not many?
You mean Draymond Green?
Draymond Green. What did I say?
Devontae Green, former Indiana guard.
Yeah. See how those names run together. Draymond, I don't recall him shooting a lot in the league because, he's down there just pounding people. And if he can get away with not shooting a ton, then there's a place for him. And learning behind Draymond Green is not going to be a bad spot. We've got to take a break. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Dustin Dopirak joins us next, right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether
Thank you, Fred. I worked that because I screwed it up for the first, I don't know, maybe year that he was on.
How far of a lead do the Reds have on the Central Division at the moment?
Who?
Let's see. They were how far ahead of. Let's take a look here. Let's see. They have a half-game lead over the Brewers right now.
Can you imagine that? You win 12 straight games and you have a freaking half-game lead.
Well, how far behind were they whenever they started that series?
It couldn't have been too far.
Yeah.
Because right now, how far back are the Cardinals? And they're in dead last. 9.5 games?
They're 8.5 back.
See, I can't they're only 8.5.
Cardinals are.
But they're only 8.5 back. Yeah, that's not insurmountable.
Yeah, they're far from the worst team in Major League Baseball. You're not the Royals and the Athletics only have 22 and 20 wins, respectively. So,
John, how are you?
That's also
not you.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh, and I meant to say thanks to he pointed out that earlier. Scott, I didn't say hi to you, by the way, down in Evansville. Thank you, sir. Oh, yeah, I got to talk about more about De La Cruz, man.
I love how Kenneth points out, even though they're selling all these games, the Reds set a record for lowest attendance earlier this year. So they've hit highs and lows in both directions.
Well,
He should be on shortly. He didn't tell me he wasn't going to be on, so I'm sure he'll pop in here momentarily. And he's usually good about telling me if he's not going to be on. So, and if he's not in, by the time we come back from break, I'll send him a text. All right, 30 seconds.
Bloomington area is a fresh, home-cooked, nutritious meal prep that we cook up. The Fresh Fork takes care of all the planning, shopping, and prepping and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat here with you, Jim Coyle. Dustin Dopirak joins us from Indianapolis. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. About yourself?
I cannot complain. You have to be happy. The draft is over, so now you can just report on what there is, and there's not a lot other than the fallout and the summer league to come up, which I cannot wait for the summer league. It has become more and more. It's like watching a tournament in and of itself because these guys are playing for their lives. Some of them, or a lot of them, most of them. You've got the announcement that Race Thompson's getting a shot with the New York Knicks on their summer league team. There will be, if you're an Indiana Hoosier fan, you'll have three guys to watch with Race, Trace Jackson-Davis on the Golden State Warriors, and of course Jalen Hood-Schifino with the Lakers. And I'm assuming he'll play as well just to get the experience that he needs. I mean, I assume all these freshmen, rookies, got to get used to different terminology. Rookies will play. And then you have Oscar Tshiebwe, who signs a two-way with the Pacers, which is very interesting. We were talking about this earlier, Dustin, they passed on Trace Jackson-Davis twice, and obviously he wasn't happy about it. And they take a guy who is very similar in skill set, but I have to think that they broke these guys down, and whatever it was, there was something about Oscar Tshiebwe that stood out, made him different.
No, the reason was Oscar Tshiebwe was willing to take
not close.
No, I mean the really big issue, the key piece on all of this, and I even said this when he was starting. Maxine's got a lot of thoughts.
Disagreed. She was late to tell me that I was wrong.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Let me get out so she can. She's not totally overwhelming me here. The really key issue with Trace was the two-way, and that's the biggest thing that everybody's got to remember about this was that basically the Pacers traded down to 47 in the first place because they were already in kind of a roster crunch. So they've got 12 guys coming back on contract. I think they want to try to sign at least one of them. I think they are interested in trying to bring back George Hill. And so that basically meant they could bring back, they could sign two rookies to not be on two-way contracts, that they would have roster space for two of those if they want to keep one roster spot open for the time being. So they traded down to 47 in part because once you get past about 45, it's easier to get somebody on a two-way. You can sign anybody in the second round to a two-way, but somebody that's at 33, 34, 35, their agent's going to be like, you don't have to take a two-way. You don't have to spend any time in the G League. You're one of the 35 best players, in this draft. You shouldn't have to take a two-way. So they knew going in that basically they were trading back in part so that's what they could get. They could get somebody on a two-way contract so they could, have them get some time in the G League. So number one, they needed to do that for roster purposes to start with. Number two, the Pacers view Trace Jackson-Davis as a center. They also view Oscar Tshiebwe as a center. And they have four of those guys in the roster already. Miles Turner being the starter, Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson, Daniel Tice. Those guys were taking up, they already had an issue with playing time among those guys as it was. So even last year, they had a hard time making sure that Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson got the time that they needed to be able to develop. And it was an issue really for, Daniel Tice only played 7 games, and that was a deal. So because Jackson and Smith had to take DNPs just to get him any kinds of minutes, for the 7 games he played, which basically was just for the purpose of saying, hey, this guy's still a useful player, so somebody should trade us for him because he'll be helpful to your team as a backup center. Daniel Tice is still useful, but they basically told him after about 7-8 games, like, hey, we're going to focus on getting Jalen and Isaiah minutes. You're going to just piece for the rest of the time. And that was a totally useful basketball player who didn't really play the last, month and a half of the season. So they've already got a major issue with the 5, and they view Trace as a 5. So when it comes around, as I understand it, and I guess Greg Doyle got somebody on his team to say this, and I also got Chad Buchanan to say this, that basically they were like, hey, well, we would be interested in taking you if you're willing to take a 2-way. And Trace and his agent were basically like, no, we're not up for that. And number one, number two, we see your roster situation anyway. You're not going to have any options. So, but Oscar Tshiebwe then, so they let Trace go, don't pick him with the 47 and the 55. And then he goes to 57, where Golden State's got a great situation for him. They don't have a lot of big bodies on that team, and they could really use somebody that can take those minutes and play. So he ended up with a much better situation. It would not have been a good scenario if Indiana would have taken him. But the biggest key thing is they would have been willing to take him on a 2-way. I think there would be value to Trace Jackson Davis on a 2-way. I understand why he wouldn't want one, because he's like, hey man, I've been an All-American. Why do I need to take a 2-way? That's BS. But on the flip side of it, the reason that he would not have space on the Pacers roster is because they view him as a center. And that's what everybody views him as at this point, as a small ball 5, because he has not proven he can do a lot of the things that you need to do as a power forward in this league. At this point, the power forward this league now is what small forward used to be 10, 15 years ago. It's obviously become a more perimeter oriented game. Like Jason Tatum's a 4. Jimmy Butler's a 4. It's not the league where Tim Duncan and Karl Malone are your 4 guys with their back to the basket now. Like, guys that are practically guards are nominally your power forwards. Like, those guys are you either have to guard them, or you have to cross match. So you got to prove that you can defend on the perimeter, you can handle on the perimeter, and you can shoot. And Trace Jackson Davis has only taken 3 shots. So he can still be, I think he can be a really good small ball 5 in this league. You don't have to be as big as you used to be a good center. And so I think he's got a future, but Indiana has 4 centers. And so it's like, okay, like the only way that he was going to get playing time is to become a power forward. And that's what I think the G League could do for him. It's not that he can't learn it or doesn't understand it. Like, he's got to go someplace and shoot. And he's only going to do that if he feels like it's the right call. And he would have to go someplace where the games don't matter. And I've been saying this for a long time. Like, a big reason why Trace never shot threes is he always felt like all the games mattered. Every possession mattered. So why would he waste a possession taking a shot that he's only going to make 30% of the time? And if he's lucky, if he could go down on the block and score 65% of the time, that was his calculation. He basically said it. So it's like, if he's ever going to be a 3-point shooter and do the things you need to do to be a power forward in the NBA, he needs to go someplace where he's not only allowed, but demanded to shoot and told, it doesn't matter if you miss. We want you to take as many threes as you can. We don't care if we win this game. And so, there would have been value, I think, for him taking a 2-way. He didn't want one. That's fine. And he got in a better situation. But the Pacers then, the reason why it makes sense for them to go then take Oscar Tshiebwe is they could put Oscar Tshiebwe on a 2-way. Oscar Tshiebwe is going to spend a lot of time with the Mad Ants this year, and so he gets called up only if they need him. Oscar's, Trace is a better all around player, but Oscar's a better rebounder, so it's like he's got one skill that's going to be ahead of his. He was the nation's leading rebounder each of the last 2 years. He was just a phenomenal rebounder. So there's value there in just sort of having one skill that really stands out above the rest of them. But that's the biggest thing. The 2-way is really the biggest way. You have to understand that. I was surprised they didn't take him, but I said that on the idea of, well, you can get him on a 2-way now. But if he wasn't willing to do that, it's a different calculation. I saw this logjam play out all year, last year. And, I know people are probably going to say, well, he's better than Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson. I think he's a better all-around player than they are, but they each have something that they're better at than him. Like, Isaiah Jackson's a higher leaper, as high as Trace gets up, Isaiah Jackson gets up higher. I watched them all year. He gets down, any lob you throw at him, the guy can throw down. Anything. you know, and like Trace is really good at that. Isaiah's at next level at that. Like, it's crazy. And Jalen Smith, he's got his flaws, and they had to move him away from power forward because he wasn't doing a lot of the things that you need to do. But he's still a more accomplished shooter. You know, I mean, he hit 51 threes in college. Trace Jackson Davis didn't hit any. And Jalen had a good stretch last season, you know, the 21-22 season where he really shot a lot. And he averaged 11 rebounds per 36 minutes this year. And he was actually, like, per minute basis, better rebounder than Miles Turner. So those guys still have something they can give you. They're not going to like give Trace the job and just sort of cast those guys aside. You know, like each of them are just going to steal minutes from each other. That's what would happen is everybody's development would be taken down because they would try to make all of them play, you know, and everybody would get hurt. You know, this way Trace goes to Golden State. He's in a great situation. You know, like all they've really got as far as bigs, presuming they let JaMychal Green walk, which I presume they will. You know, he's really he could be the backup 5, at least for the regular season. You know, obviously they play small in the playoffs where they go, you know, Looney is the starting 5 a lot of times, and then Green is the starting 5, you know, and play a smaller lineup. But, you know, you have to operate differently in the regular season when you got to get through 82 games, you know, 48 minutes a night. You're not, you know, like nobody's getting more than 30 when you're playing closer to 40 in playoff minutes. You know, like you got to find somebody to play 18-ish. After, and Trace can be that guy who plays 18 at the 5 behind Kevon Looney, and you know, give them a real, you know, rebounding option, and his style of play fits. They let you pass, they let you create as a big man. So I mean, everything worked out for him. Everybody's better off in this scenario, and I understand why everybody's upset because I mean, there is, you know, we were talking about this on our podcast. It's just like it really comes down to like the people in the state want to be able to root for you for your entire career. They want you to, you know, play your high school ball here, your college ball here, your pro ball here, and they want to be able to care about you the whole way. And that's cool, and that's great, and that's why we have the readership we have and the listeners that you have and everything else. So, like, I don't want to disparage that, but that's not always what works right for an NBA team. And the bottom line is the Pacers are better off, and Trace Jackson Davis is significantly better off with the situation being what it is.
And getting more of these guys in, the league is kind of, you know, we've talked about the style of play that has changed a little bit. With getting more of these guys in, do you think that because the NBA is a flavor and not everybody likes it. It's not
Sure.
it's a dish not everybody likes. But when you start getting more guys that have been more recently played at a school like, say, Indiana, I'm wondering if those people are going to follow them to the NBA to watch them.
You mean are they going to keep on
As
them?
as a fan, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about, there's a couple of different ways to think about this. Like, obviously, if you were to have a scenario in this state where, you know, there's a kid's a superstar high school player and he goes to IU and he's a superstar there, and then he gets drafted by the Pacers and he's a star there. Like, is that going to lead to more interest in the Pacers? Yes, absolutely, because this is a very, like, you know, parochial state. Like, everybody really cares about, I mean, they believe in their basketball as something like they feel like they invented. So they absolutely want to see a scenario where there's a guy like that comes through the ranks of Indiana and proves to everybody how great Indiana basketball is, not just IU, but like the state of basketball in Indiana. Right. And that produces somebody who's a superstar, and he comes to the Pacers and everybody goes to see him. Like, yeah, there's something to that. The issue
what about
is,
these other teams when they go to like the Lakers and the Golden
Are they
State?
going to care? Like, I mean, you've seen obviously over time people come back and watch guys who were IU guys, and they get, you know, they get big ovations. But like, is it a scenario where, okay, well, that game sells out? I mean, like, sort of. I mean, like, Trace is going to draw well his first time back. You know, like when the Warriors come to play, I mean, they'll already draw well because everybody wants to see Curry. You know, like those games, like there's like a handful of superstars that, you know, really move the needle here, you know, where it's like, okay, like, and they spend a lot of that day just afraid that he's not going to play, you know, like, I mean, like I got calls from friends be like, hey, is Steph going to play today? Because if he is, I want to bring my kid. If I don't, then I don't. You know, I want to see, I want, you know, because some of these guys are marvels, and you know, you want to be in the building when they play. And, you know, obviously you have this issue with load management and everything like that, that sometimes, you know, sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't, you know.
Ask Archie Miller about load management.
Was that? Yeah.
Ask Archie Miller about load management.
It's a different deal when you're only playing 32 than when you're playing 82. And he knows that. I think that was part of the deal. Was like, we play 32 games. Our guys can play. They're 21. It's different when they're playing 82. But anyway, point of the matter.
The wife waved. She waved.
she says hi. And so does Maxine. But there are all those issues and everything like that. But like people will show up the first couple times that an IU guy comes to play. They will. I mean, when Cody Zeller plays, when Victor Oladipo plays, there is a tick up as far as those games are concerned. It's obviously an issue if they play less, and I think there would have been an issue at home if I know the first I was there for Grace Berger's first game and she didn't get in. And it was a deal. And so it becomes a deal that you have to manage. It's sort of like when an in-state kid or a Bloomington kid comes to play at Indiana at IU, that there's this sort of pressure, from the locals that like, well, you got to play the kid. He's the local kid. And, so it puts pressure on coaches to be like, okay, well, what if that's not the right call here? Do I have to, decide who to play? It's almost like you have 10,000 parents showing up. Like there's something to that of feeling like, okay, well, I have to play this town's kid. And it's just like, well, what if that's not the right move for my basketball team? And so that is an issue. And I was really thinking about this. Like, I don't know that there's another pro franchise that would have this kind of pressure. Like, I mean, the as far as that particular type, like, I don't know that anybody, I mean, there was legit anger on Thursday night showed up in my mentions when they didn't pick Trace. I mean, it was a deal. I mean, like there was one I had one Twitter follower who said like, disband the franchise. This place is a joke. They hate their fans. I'm like that's a bit much.
They did what was best for them. I said this earlier. I go, it's professional sports. It's a business, people. And Trace ended up in a much, much better position. And I agree with Maxine. It's time to take a break. We've got lots more coming up with the great Dustin Dopirak and Maxine. And we'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market, hey, well, you won't go. There's no reason for you, but the Big Ten Media Days for football are the 25th and 26th in Indianapolis. You won't.
I almost definitely won't go. I'm trying to. What day of the week is that?
I think it's a Wednesday and a Thursday.
Okay, I'm trying to get back to Pittsburgh that weekend.
All right.
So I might be around. I mean,
I'm still working to get.
All right, yeah, I got you. I'll be around in Indy. So Wednesday, I don't think we're leaving before Wednesday. So, you can give me a shout when you're in town. But I'm not going to be covering it.
Cool.
I'm sure I'm not. Zach will be there and everything like that. So I might try to, I'll probably try to see some people. But so. Yeah.
And where are you located on what side of the town?
East side, but like I'm close enough to downtown that I can just come meet you. Like I'm about 3 miles away. No, not even. I'm probably 2 miles away from Lucas Oil, maybe 3. I don't know.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's short. I mean, like I get to, I can get to Gainbridge in 15 minutes. Even less than that. So. If I get all the red lights, I can be there in 10. So.
How about Race Thompson? That was a little bit of a surprise.
Race Thompson. Yeah, no, I mean, I figured it was going to be straight to Europe for him, which isn't a bad thing. Like Race is going to have a nice professional career. I mean, like I don't, do I think he'll ever get an, like there's obviously a lot of spots for these summer league.
Don't waste it. I'm going to ask you about it.
Yeah,
come back.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's. I mean, I'll say it again. I said it earlier. He has a nice set of tools in his toolbox.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I don't know that any of them are elite enough for him to be in the league.
Yeah,
but some people develop, blossom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
maybe the different tutelage he gets. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I won't rule it out. But I mean, it's big. Like I've seen a bunch of guys get summer league assignments out of the gate, and most of them don't turn into an NBA deal. But if he gets, a big thing would be for him if he gets to play G League stateside. That's really nice. That's a better deal. If someone gives him a legit G League spot, and he doesn't have to leave the country, that's cool.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go, guys.
Coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday. Thanks a lot for being with us. Appreciate you. Dustin Dopirak with me. Jim Coyle here. We were talking about the recent doings of the NBA draft. The Pacers with their pick Oscar Tshiebwe. Trace Jackson Davis goes to Golden State and has an excellent opportunity there, as Dustin pointed out, with the prospect that he is on the roster, not just having to make it, but probably will be on it. Race Thompson, a surprise of sorts, that he has signed an offer to play for the Knicks in their summer league. He has a shot to make it. Early before you joined us, I said, Race has got a nice set of tools in his toolbox. He can shoot, not a great percentage, but he can shoot. He can bang inside, and probably he has a nice mid-range that he can develop. I don't know if any of his tools are elite enough that he can get and stay in the league, but I don't know otherwise because I'm not an NBA GM.
Yeah, no, I mean he does have a skill set that fits the modern four.
I got a certain set of skills.
Certain set of skills that'll make me a nightmare for people like you. No, he obviously big thing that he proved at Indiana is he can defend multiple positions. He can get out there on the perimeter and guard. And that's big. That's an important thing for the league. And he can shoot it a little. He's not a great shooter, but there's a whole bunch of guys in the league that aren't great shooters that keep shooting threes. So, that's kind of where the league is right now. If you're making 35, man, keep shooting. That's cool. People, we're down for that now. And I get it. It makes for a fun game, makes for a wide open game. But there's, so you got to be a good shooter, but you don't have to be lights out. Not everybody has to hit 40% of them to be allowed to take them. And he can rebound, he can defend. He's, good at getting in passing lanes, good at rotations. There's a lot of things he does well that teams want a modern power forward to do. Now, like you said, I don't know if any of his skills are elite enough to get him to stick, but it is important, getting a summer league, assignment really helps for what else you might get. Even if do I look at Race as having a path to an NBA roster spot? I don't right now. I don't want to roll him out because he's a tough kid. And he could always do something, and it matters being a good teammate. Race is a good teammate. All that stuff makes a difference. There are a whole bunch of other players with his skill set, so he's going to have to beat out a lot of people. But my point being, just getting a summer league assignment matters because you could put some stuff on film, and that's going to get you money to play basketball somewhere. Whether that means, it gives you a better chance of nailing down a full-time G League assignment. And, that's nice in itself, as opposed to, having to go overseas. There's value, obviously, just being able to play stateside and not having to, go to a new country, learn a new language, start over, that kind of thing. There's value in the European experience, and obviously we've covered, plenty of IU guys who have gone there and come back and talked about how great it is, and things they got to do that they wouldn't have experienced otherwise. Certainly Jordan Hall has made a really good career, got about a decade, close to a decade of playing out there, and had some great seasons in Germany before he came back to coach. Derek Elson didn't get to go out there for very long, but he had a blast. When he wasn't hurt, he was dealing with back stuff the whole time he was out there. But Derek got to go to Malta, which is a gorgeous island nation in the Mediterranean, and loved life out there for a while. So, that it can be a good living. But the bottom line is getting this step, really makes it kind of more of a sure thing that somebody is going to pay you to play basketball next year. Somebody somewhere. And if you're kind of high enough and up that you can get a summer league assignment, you're probably going to have in a better place than a lot of other rookies are going to be. And so that's a nice scenario for Race. Just again, the Knicks care enough to see him. That might be enough for him to get a G League spot. And if it's not, it'll probably be enough for him to get a nice job in Europe that pays well, is in a nice place, in a place he'd like to be.
Speaking of the summer league, what do you expect to see from Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and Oscar Tshiebwe individually? I know each one has to do different things.
Sure. No, I mean, obviously all of them are trying. Yeah, all of them are in a different place. I think that's really the big piece there is that, obviously there's some guys, Jalen Hood-Schifino is in a place where there's nothing he can do to mess it up. He's, drafted as a first-round point guard. He's going to get to go in and run the team, and he's going to get the opportunity to just do what he wants, take shots he wants, run the offense the way that he wants to do it, get a basic sense of how the offense is going to work. I mean, obviously he's not going to be in there with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and finding out like what it takes to really work with those guys and that kind of thing. But he's going to get a basic sense for how the coaching staff operates, how teammates operate. He's got to get a basic idea of how the NBA works, and he's going to get a chance to show out. I mean, they're actually playing Golden State in the first game, so he gets to play the Warriors and he gets to play Trace right out of the gate and kind of prove something. I mean, I think a lot of the first round rookies really see summer league as a chance to show out and prove. It's their first chance to prove, hey, I belong. Not only do I belong in this league, but I deserve to be a first round pick. I deserve to be a top 10 pick or whatever it is. And they get to go, some of the other top 10 picks get to go at each other. And those are really the featured games. So they get to show out. And so Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to, I think use this as an opportunity to just kind of show out with a, Laker uniform on his chest. Trace, I think is he's obviously going to be, put in a position to do a lot more than he's going to be able to do initially once he gets to the Warriors. But I think that's going to be another thing. I think you're going to see a really determined version of Trace Jackson Davis because he's going to want to show like, I did not deserve to be allowed to fall all the way to 57. This is crazy. And I want everybody to know that that you're going to pay for letting me fall to 57. You're going to wish you picked me. So I think he's going to actually obviously want to go down there and throw down a lot and make as big of a place as he can. And he's going to be in a position to do so. I mean, I think their first pick, in this draft was Brandon Podziemski. And, they're not carrying a whole bunch of superstars. He's going to have as much of an opportunity to show out as anybody that's going to be on that Warriors team. So he's going to have a chance to grab the spotlight a little bit. Oscar Tshiebwe, I think, is going to do some, Race, to go back to Race. I mean, again, like Race is just going to try to put anything on film that he could put on film, defending people on the perimeter, shooting the ball, just anything that is like, he's just going to try to put all his skill sets out there just to say, hey, I deserve it. Like I deserve to be on this team. I deserve to be on the G League team. I deserve your European contracts. I mean, like, Race is just going to take all of his opportunities. Now, the thing is guys like that don't always get a ton of summer league minutes. I mean, they are bringing, probably 2 units out there. Probably going to end up with about 10 guys or so on every roster. So it's not like he's going to get to play, 35, 40 minutes. I mean, he's going to have to make the most of, relatively short minutes probably. So, but he's going to try to do everything he can in those periods, try to make sure you take a shot, show you can defend, show you can rebound, just get anything on film that you can that either helps you get a G League spot or helps you get a European spot. And, obviously it's going to be really tough for him to make the NBA team. Very, very rarely does somebody do that just straight off a summer league invite without a guaranteed 2-way. But he gets in their face and obviously teams will remember that even if he doesn't get an immediate deal, he can get something down the line. It's just important to get anything on film they can and, try to get invited back next year by somebody. A lot of these teams get multiple years where they do summer league and these guys get multiple years where they do summer league and some eventually it works out. Tshiebwe, I think, is sort of trying to prove that his style of play works. I think that's kind of the biggest thing just from talking to him. He's really, really determined. I got to talk to him twice, once at the combine and once at a Pacers workout, during this. And I just got just so much of a sense of like, there's like really a fire in the guy. And he's just sort of annoyed that like he does what he does as well as anybody out there. And it's just like, why doesn't this work? Why isn't this valued? And it's just like, what, like, I'm going to prove to you that it works, that it makes a difference. You have somebody that's going to get every rebound. And he's just basically like, look, like you shoot it, I don't have to shoot it. I'm going to go chase it down for you and give it back to you and you can shoot it again. that's going to be my job. And I'm going to do that so well that you're going to have me on your team. And I mean, he reminds me that the name that I really thought of recently, not that I saw, and other people have made this connection, but Reggie Evans, is a guy that you look at when you think of Oscar Tshiebwe. It's a guy that just rebounded because he was just a big muscular dude. He's not Dennis Rodman in the sense of, just the level of activity that Rodman had and the kind of defender he was, that could get out on somebody and then chase the ball down. Tshiebwe's a bigger dude, but like Evans was a guy that just, he got 10, 11, 12 years in the league. He didn't get drafted either, but he was a beast of a rebounder at Iowa, and then he was a beast of a rebounder in the league. And he didn't score, and he didn't, shoot at all. But man, when the ball was up in the air, you were going to have a really hard time keeping Reggie Evans from getting it. And I think Oscar Tshiebwe wants to prove he can be the same type of guy.
And you may have mentioned this before. There are 30 extra spots open for these guys now because of an added two-way contract. And for those of you who don't know, a two-way contract quickly allows NBA teams to sign guys to where they can play in a certain number of NBA games. The majority of them are in the G League, but that opens up an additional roster spot, gives another job and another opportunity to someone, whether it's Race Thompson or Trace Jackson Davis or whomever it is. But that's huge. That's 30 extra jobs, man.
Yeah, no, it's like, I mean, it's similar to practice squad. Like, it finally, this is finally like these two-way contracts, and also, the built-up G League and the fact that almost everybody's got a G League affiliate now. You finally have a minor league scenario with basketball. And it matters because it's just like, instead of having to go try to sign somebody to a 10-day contract off the street, you have somebody that's playing in your system, and that they can work out at your facilities. The Pacers are now going to be closer. They're moving the Mad Ants to Noblesville. So while they build that arena this year, they're going to play at Gainbridge. So they're going to be right there. And, you have over the course of 82 games, you'll have a guy go down for an injury, and you need to call somebody up just to have a little bit more depth. And that guy might not play very much, but they had to call Travell and Queen up a couple times this year because, they had injuries to Tyrese Halliburton when he was out. And then there was a couple games that TJ McConnell missed, and it was like, okay, we need somebody to be able to go out there and play guard. So they called Travell and Queen up. They called Gabe York up toward the end of the year, Kendall Brown a little bit. It's just having that ability to just say, okay, he's up today, and he's going to be on this bench, and he's going to be around. So it's more jobs. It's a more streamlined opportunity when you're dealing with injuries to cut into your roster, being able to get somebody that's right there and keep that person involved. Again, it's very similar to, your 40-man roster in baseball, where you have a certain amount of guys that are sort of already on the list to get called up. When you have some injuries and stuff like that. And in football, you have the practice squad where you have 10 guys that are there and they're practicing with you every day and everything like that. And, they're running scout team and the whole bit. And when someone gets hurt, someone from the practice squad gets called up. And so, the three-way is finally having that, the two-way is finally having that in the NBA. And these guys get to, like adding one more, again, like you said, 30 more jobs, it helps the teams. It helps the players. It's still tough to make it this league. And it's just like, it just provides a little bit more options. And it's just, and again, like, it's just better all around for, the U.S. being able to keep a lot of these guys stateside, and having enough jobs out there now that not everybody has to run and go play in Europe. And, they can stay close to home and, take a professional run at it. Without having to leave the country. And so, it's ultimately just good for basketball in the country and good for basketball players. There's a lot of really good players out there. You see how many every single year, you see a lot of great college players that, can't find a job in the NBA. And so, the built up G League, the two ways, everything just creates more opportunities for a lot of really good basketball players to be able to just keep playing ball professionally.
Now that the draft is over, I know nothing is over because the summer league starts, but most people get to do some reporters or whatever, get to decompress. I mean, I force mine in because I don't have a season.
Yeah.
You have a season, but it doesn't stop. And Kyle Nedrip, he gets to decompress a little bit when the summertime's here because he works like a madman during the year doing such an incredible job covering all of high school. But the NBA, it just doesn't quit. You had to prepare for the season run all the way up to the draft, then the draft. Now you've got summer league. Then you're going to have post summer league rosters, and then boom, it's time for camp. I mean, it's a year round. It is a year round venture now, and so
yeah, we'll have some chill out time. The next couple of weeks are still going to be hectic. Free agency opens up on Friday. Friday at 5:00. Everything kind of opens up, so that's kind of the beginnings of free agency, and so stuff will pop all through summer league. Really, I would just presume really the next month is stuff that can go on, but really it's the first couple of days that it can be really hectic, and it's that So I am going to Vegas for a couple of days. It's going to be I think I'm getting 4 days down in Vegas for the summer league. Going to cover 2 games, I think, and we haven't finalized all that, but I will be down there to provide some coverage for it. So I'm looking forward to that. Both getting to see the Pacers and then getting to see these IU guys and in some pro uniforms. There's a couple Purdue guys still kicking around. I saw Travion Williams is on a summer league, so going to go check those guys out, see how they're doing, try to get as much out of this as we can. But get back from summer league, and once that summer league ends, and then all the rosters are set. Once you kind of figure out what moves they're going to make and not make, there's going to be some chill out time. August and September, most of September are usually, pretty easy. And then, August in particular is usually pretty dead, apparently. But then, September is when it starts to pick up again. But it's not until, they don't have big, long camps like you have in football. I mean, that's one difference where you have, training camp in football starts at the end of July, and you've got a good 5-6 weeks. I mean, basketball, it's more like 2 or 3. But between the time that they get down there and media day starts and everything gets rolling. So I will have some time to, decompress and whatnot. But, it's also starting to build up, man. I really want to just provide some really good coverage at the beginning of this year and really write some good stories on this team. So there's going to be some more in-depth reporting, I hope, provided everybody gives me the interviews I want them to give me. So,
And if you're not following Dustin Dopirak, you're doing yourself a disservice, by the way, period. So make sure that you are on Twitter and where his written word appears in any form. Jalen Harrelson is a name. Earlier we were talking about, the fantasy of an Indiana fan who have an Indiana high school kid who's great, and he goes to, say, IU, or it could be Purdue, and then goes to the Pacers. Jalen Harrelson may be a guy that can do that. He is a phenomenon, a 6'8", really good point guard. And man, that just what's the tallest point guard in the NBA right now? I mean, I don't think of anybody that's that tall that's a point guard. Are there?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you view them. I mean, like, there are guys who end up functioning that way. I mean,
right.
Nikola Jokic does a lot of point guard things.
He sure does.
There are times when he brings the ball up. There are times when he's initiating offense. Obviously you're seeing a lot more of that. I mean, there's times when Joel Embiid brings the ball up. LeBron James, obviously, is he's not doing it all the time. I mean, he's running around a little bit, off the ball, but he brings the ball up. He runs the offense sometimes. And certainly you have some of these bigger skilled guys that can take that now. I'm trying to think of someone who's the obvious answer. I mean, obviously Magic was 6'9".
Yeah, that's who comes to mind is someone like Magic Johnson, who was supposed to be a point guard, who, was supposed to be his role. But then you have the time that he posted up at center because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was hurt, and he killed him at center. So, put a point guard at center.
Sure. I mean, those top of the line athletes that we've seen, come through the league at that point are truly able to play any position. Larry Bird could do it. Like Magic Johnson could do it. LeBron James could do it. Obviously Michael Jordan could do it. Scottie Pippen could do it, to some extent. I'm trying to think of Kevin Durant can bring the ball up, and run offense. Obviously he's usually running off the ball, but there are plenty of big dudes who have proven that they can handle, bring the ball up the floor, run offense. There are just the guys at that level, the true best at that level. The amount of skill they have with the amount of size they have is absolutely crazy. Giannis, I mean, like Giannis is. I mean, like not that he's doing it all the time. Drew Holiday is the point guard on that team, but Giannis can run point guard, without any problem. Like he can absolutely bring the ball up, operate offense. Not an issue. So 6'10", 6'11", 7-foot guys have proven very capable. You're going to see Victor Wembanyama do it probably.
The ability to move those pieces obviously are very helpful because it makes it much more difficult to defend. But you can also have a pure offense with a guy like that, so you can switch up. But he's going to be kind of man. I think that he's going to be someone that gets to the league just from what we see him. His talent is just, my gosh. And if he does, the soonest that you could see him in the NBA is 2027. But talking about a kid that the soonest he could even be in the NBA is 2027. Why? He is such a phenomenon, man.
Sure. No, I mean he's a terrific player, man. I didn't get to see him very much while I was on the ISB, but I saw him at Charlie Hughes last year. So I guess that was this past weekend.
Yeah, he went 4-0 this past weekend.
Dude can play. I mean, he's legit, and it's just, I mean, I think the question is, is he going to be able to stay in Fishers this whole time? But he's going to be a ball player, man. I mean, he's going to be the real thing. I mean, like obviously, we've seen big names before, and there's, there also is, there is a danger. I mean, I don't know that Romeo Langford would have been good for him to stay with the Pacers. I don't think that would have been a good move. Ultimately, I mean, I think he's, there's still a possibility for things to work out for him. So like, I don't think we should run past that, but there is an amount of pressure that would come with being that guy. But I mean, he looks like an NBA player, from this stage. And obviously there's a lot more, water under the bridge and time to develop and everything like that. And there are going to be, there is always the issue. It's like when you identify the guys as freshmen, that part of that is that not everybody else has grown up yet. People catch up with them basically. I mean, there were several guys I remember IU taking and going after, when they were freshmen and sophomores, and you thought, wow, this guy's amazing. And then 2 or 3 years pass, and then everybody else has kind of caught up to him. But like I don't think Jalen Harrelson's gonna be one of those guys. I think he's advanced, and I think he's gonna be the guy that's gonna be a legit star. And so there's a really good chance that he's in the league in a couple years.
I know you like to go to concerts, and so with the going to Vegas, boy, there's a great opportunity. Tons of concerts out there, just not enough time.
No, there's not. No, I'm gonna be stuck at that gym the entire time. But no, so I don't think I'm gonna be catching any of those in Vegas. But
I've never seen a show in Vegas. For one, they're too damn expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they are not cheap. They are not cheap. You're gonna kick out of this though. I have a cousin. I swear to God, like. He went out there originally. He's been
from Boston. Was it your cousin from Boston?
He's my cousin from Pittsburgh. He went out there to be an Elvis impersonator. I swear to God, he actually looks like young Elvis. Like he's 50 now, but like it's basically like if you see him, like it's the best. Like you see him and the rest of my family. Like my cousin JH got like all the good looking genes. Like everyone that we had, we put into JH. And so he's down there. So I'm looking forward to so every time I've been to Vegas, I get to go.
Oh, he's still in Vegas.
He's still in Vegas, man. He's living the life. Like,
is he doing it?
Not, I mean, he's a bar back mostly, and he's got a good living being a bar back in Vegas.
That's amazing.
Still, but he played shows for a while. He can play the guitar, he can sing, he can do the whole bit. So he went down there. He wanted to be young Elvis because he still, when he went down there, like he wasn't, he was in real trim shape, and he's still in good shape at like his 50s.
That was actually a smart idea, but good would have been good job security because he could have grown into
the job. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if he does it at all anymore. I know he's got a more steady gig, I think, at the MGM, but so I get to go hang out with Jay, so I'm looking forward to that.
That would be awesome, man. We'll have to get him to write there and sing an intro song for Dustin.
Yeah.
Oh man, Dustin Dopirak. So do you get to do anything? Will you get to do anything out there? Because I know it's such a short turnaround. You're only going to be there for 4 days. Just
I doubt I'm going to be doing very much Vegas. I did not. I would say this. I also did not save up for a Vegas trip. So
Vegas is hard on the body, man.
Vegas is hard on the body, and it is hard on the wallet. And so I am going to take it easy on myself there. I'm not. You will not see me in a casino. You know, I you might see me in a casino getting a beer, but I'm not going out to you know, I'm not going to be rolling no dice, and I'm not going to be playing no blackjack.
Yeah, I always say they didn't build those places on winners, baby.
They did not. They absolutely did not.
When do you head out for Vegas?
Don't know yet. Still going to nail that down today. They didn't put out the summer league schedule until Friday, so got to talk that out with the higher ups and make sure I know where I'm going, when I'm going there, and you know when they want me there. But I will definitely be there before the opener on July 8th. Indiana, the league starts on the 7th, so I'm presuming I'll go down there at least by the morning of the 7th, because the Lakers and Warriors do play each other. So you're going to see Hilda Shafino against Chase Jackson Davis on the first night. So I presume that is something we will want to cover.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, man. Look forward to talking to you again as always. Tell Maxine we said hi.
Will do.
Thank you very much, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
Make sure you give Dustin Dopirak a follow on Twitter and everywhere you can see his written word. It's well worth it. You're doing yourself a disservice if not. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry. They're down in Sellersburg, southern part of the state. Go in and see Dr. J. Keep that championship smile going. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
I never heard from K-Bro, so hopefully I can get him for tomorrow.
Yeah. You got to go to the lonesome valley. Oh.
Excuse me.
You got to go. Oh. I don't know what I was looking for. You got to go. How many home runs did they hit? 1. 2. 3, 4. 5, 6. 6 home runs. And LSU gets a solo homer in the 9th. 7 home runs in that game yesterday. Gee whiz. Oh, dang it. That's it. I'm going to make you change that. 7 p.m. tonight's showdown.
So I usually have it on vibrate, or at least I try to remember to put it on vibrate, but sometimes I don't do that.
Okay, this is funny. Talked about records earlier between Boston and I got to work in Boston. Your cousin from Boston reference.
I know you did. I was like, man, he found another way to do it, didn't he?
Your cousin from Boston. If LSU beats Florida tonight, no, I might as well save this.
This is game 3, right? I think they only play a 3-game series.
Yeah, this is game 7.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Monday. Get the week started off right. Just finished up with Dustin Dopirak. Always enjoy our weekly chats. Tonight, the College World Series. All the marbles, baby. It's all on the line. All the games that have been played. It comes down to one game. And ironically, Florida and LSU, although both in the SEC conference, did not play this year. And
that's something.
And didn't play each other through the entire College World Series until the championship. They met in the championship. And with all of that, if LSU were to beat Florida tonight, they would both have identical 54-17 records.
Wow. I also just realized earlier whenever I was talking about LSU's offense that I was getting them backwards. Florida's the one who put up 24 runs on LSU. I know LSU is usually known for that high-powered offense, but I didn't realize
they look like a minor league baseball team with the guys going up to the plate. They all got beards and mustaches, and they just look the part. And wow, I'm just dumbfounded by what happened yesterday in that game. That's just 7. I counted. There were 7 total home runs, 6 of them by Florida. One was a grand slam. I believe a bases loaded 2-out grand slams. I was watching it, and you couldn't tell that it was a homer at first because the batter was walking and watching it, but holding his bat still. And I'm like, that thing must be going foul.
Yeah.
And then they showed the replay from the back end, way back, and I'm like, that stayed in. So I don't know if he was enjoying it or watching it. If it was moving, if it was moving, I understand. But if it's going straight, maybe if he didn't know if it was far enough. But man, that's a big time. But you know what? What if they get beat 2-1 today? You score 24 runs in a game, but what kind of pitching is LSU going to have left?
Yeah,
they got destroyed yesterday. I mean, I would think that part of the reason they got destroyed is because they kind of the manager reached a point and said, "Hey, this game's out of hand. Do not leave in whoever's in. Let them get shelled. It doesn't matter. We've got to save everybody else for tomorrow."
Yeah, I mean, that would have been what you would have wanted them to do, especially if you knew you needed to have a chance to win today. I mean, you don't come this far just to fold and let Florida win everything. When you're in the biggest stage of the game, and like you said, it comes down to one game like it is tonight, you want to be sure you have enough ammo to be able to fire back.
Ammo in the tank, baby. Got to have ammo in the tank. Let's see. Also, who ended up winning? Keegan Bradley ended up winning a 23 under the TPC River Highlands event over the weekend. $3.6 million for that win. $3.6 million. But here's the kicker. Harmon and Zach Blair, Brian Harmon and Zach Blair, they split second. They were 20 under. So they got $1.8 million each, which means that second alone, one stroke, either one of them, one stroke difference cost them probably $300,000. Any missed putt. Now, that's $300,000. That's a nice number.
Speaking of golf,
hold on. That's second and third. Move just one spot down because Patrick Cantley and Chez Revy tied for what would be fourth at one stroke behind them at 19 under, but the difference there is cut in half to $800,000. So the difference between the winner and fourth place was 4 strokes, but about $1.8 million.
Wow, that's a one stroke can be very costly.
1.8 divided by 4.
I'm not trying to do math.
Well, I'm not very good at it either, but
1.8 divided by 4.
I think that's about
point something.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a lot of money a stroke. I don't have a
Speaking of money in golf, people can win some money at this year's Never Lose Hoop event, can't they?
More than importantly, you can help a great cause. Do not forget, yes, thank you, John. Never Lose Hoop golf outing registration out and ready to go. Just go to the link that we have up or events.golfstatus.com, and you should be able to find Never Lose Hoop through that. You can register, you can become a sponsor. A whole sponsor is only $100. I want to see how many of our viewers or listeners we can get to sponsor a hole for this. It goes to all of it goes to a great cause, Never Lose Hoop Foundation, which is for the Halls Foundation, which benefits area children dealing with cancer, and it helps with their families. It will send them on a trip where they can do things together that they were not able to do or are not going to be able to do in the future. It's just nothing but a great, great cause. And every year, if you were lucky enough to be there for the awards banquet afterwards and to hear JC Hulls talk, I've already told him I'm going to have to MC this thing this year, man. And your talk is going to be limited because he breaks, and boy, he gets so emotional about it. And I'm saying this in a joking manner on the side of he can't talk as much, but no, but he really truly gets emotional because it means that much to him. And it's great to see that. It's great to see what they do. And it's going to be a great event. If you're an Indiana fan, or be a big Indiana influence. I talked to Woody back at Huber's, and he said he should be around for that and able to play. His niece should be ready to go by now. So I know he's been out playing some. So just make sure you go there and sign up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be at the Golf Club at Eagle Point. The course is in it's in the best shape it's ever been, I think, maybe ever. No kidding. So it'll be a fun day. And that is Thursday, July 20th is when the event is.
So we're under a month.
Yeah. If you have any desire to be a corporate sponsor, there are corporate sponsorships as well. Some really, really nice ones. Just reach out and message me on that. Don't go by what's on there because I've got some things we can add to that. But
what about the hole-in-one contests? You mentioned those.
Dude, there's 3 of them. 3. Where have you ever played an event that has 3 different hole-in-one contests? And these are not going to be made to be as hard as they can. We're going to make them as, I'm not going to say easy, but
they're going to be winnable.
You're going to have legit shots, man. Absolutely. The big one, the $10,000 hole-in-one contest, will be on hole 10, which at the Golf Club at Eagle Point is the signature hole, but it's beautiful. It's a short par 3, but it goes down and comes back up, a little valley there. There is a pond on the left side of the green, but it only plays about 120 to 140. So it's a very easily makeable shot. Not for someone like me, of course, but although I did get closest to the pin on that hole once for us to win our Thursday evening golf with him once. That never
What he's
happened.
telling you is that if he can get close, you can get in the hole.
You can get closer. Absolutely. Then the other par threes, there's 2 other hole-in-one shots on 2 other par threes for $5,000. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Who knows? I won't. I wonder if I'll be eligible.
I know you always wonder. You think you're eligible for the NBA draft, the NFL draft, the combines, all that kind of stuff. Maybe this is.
Well, I am eligible for those things. I've just not been selected, is all.
Yeah,
but I'm
eternal eligibility.
Yeah, because I help put it on. I wonder if I'll be eligible. I'm playing.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make myself eligible, especially if I hit the $10,000 one.
Exactly.
I'll give part of it to Never Lose Hoop. And not sure what I would do with the rest of it. I'm not telling the truth. I know exactly what I'd do. Buy a new car.
There you go. From Andy Moore Honda.
Absolutely. Where else would I go? The best in new and used vehicles, AndyMooreHonda.com. Let's see. We've got to take a last break.
See.
We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
Look at me fitting in that Never Lose Hoop plug for you.
Yeah, it was perfect, man. That's valuable, so valuable, because I was going to wear the shirt today. It's tag on, wouldn't wash too many times. It's a cotton shirt. I hate cotton shirts. I mean, I like them, but they shrink, and it's like, it's over. That's over. Yeah, that shirt, I can't. I guess I can. I meant to bring it in, just hold it up maybe or something. Need to put it somewhere, huh? Can you see that?
I do see that. That's nice.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. I think I'm gonna do outside one day.
That'd be pretty cool. Is there a nice
yeah, there's a restaurant
patio?
that opened. Yeah, there's a restaurant that opened. I mean, I could do it from upstairs, but they have a tent and it blocks the sun, which would allow me, I think, it won't screw the visual up. Matter of fact, after the show, I'll walk down there and do a little test run.
There you go.
Yeah, Kevin Mason Williams. John.
Oh, yeah. I'll reach out to him about Mondays.
He would have been good for today.
Yeah.
I should have texted him. Ouch.
All right, here we go.
Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. And now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. On this Monday, Major League Baseball schedule, the Reds doing a, what do you call that? When you play the American League team? Yeah, Doug on, I forgot already.
Crossover. I didn't know there was a name for that.
Yeah.
A crossover?
Interleague. Let's see, interleague, like the interleague games. It may be interleague. The Reds and the Orioles travel to Baltimore. Take on that. The Baltimore is flying high. The Orioles. Milwaukee, who right behind the Reds, they travel to New York to play the Mets. The Mets not having nearly the season they expected. They have the largest payroll in baseball. The Braves, who just took 2 out of 3 from the Reds, will host Minnesota, the Twins. So, yeah, all these interleague games, a lot of interleague games. So that's cool. And then, of course, Florida and LSU tonight is what I'm going to be watching. Keeping an eye on that Reds game, though. That'd be interesting to watch. The Cardinals are off until tomorrow. It's funny. They ESPN's matchup predictor for that Reds game, they give Baltimore a 51.7% chance of winning. Oh, and someone noted earlier, and I wanted to talk about this. It's too far back in the comments for me. I think it may have been, I don't even remember who it was. But they pointed out that there's a guy that's betting $10 against Oakland A's every time they play. And I'm like, well, that's not a bad strategy. And I think I've thought of stuff like that before. But what about doing that and then $10 to win on the winningest team in the league? I think that would be. I
mean, surely you'd be profit by the end of the season. You would hope.
I would think. I mean, if you bet $10 to win on Tampa Bay, who is the best record in baseball, they're winning 66% of the time. You should profit. And if you're betting on Oakland, who are losing 75% of the time, you should profit. I'm going to start doing it.
There you go.
Until someone who is,
I would if I was a betting man, which I will be able to be a betting man where I live in just a couple of short months, which I'm looking forward to.
You know what? I don't know. Let's see. I'll have to check that. Yeah. But tell me why that strategy wouldn't work.
I mean, just unless the team fell apart. What does Mike mean? What's a Hidari Gomon? Am I misunderstanding something?
What?
Mike commented JTB with the Hidari Gomon. I don't know what that means.
I do not know either.
Mike, feel free to elaborate, just because I'm curious what you're referring to.
On that. Little League Baseball. Oh yeah, that's not till. That won't be until August,
or even
Little
August,
League, Little League World Series. But all the stuff that leads up to that, it's happening now, man. The leagues are being played. Rusty is. I don't understand. He sent me a message saying that the 10 is on 7, but that's 10,000. Send me another message, Rusty. I'm not understanding that one. That's why I need somebody smarter than me to tell me why that strategy wouldn't work. If you're just, it's from an analytic standpoint. If it's just betting win, it's just, to me, it's betting red and black on the roulette table without the possibility of the green. There's no ties. So you're betting red or black. And if black has been shown to come up 75% of the time, I'm going to bet it 100% of the time and take the 50% profits is what it should be from a number standpoint.
So there's your betting lesson of the day from.
But I could be completely idiotic because I'm not a mathematics genius. And if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
Exactly. Or you could be like that guy who did a 21 team parlay or whatever it was back at the beginning of the college football season and nearly hit it.
Don't even talk about parlays, man. That stopped me from betting.
We're coming up on that time of year, at least in the college sports.
I'm not a big better.
A couple of months.
Just like the college football mainly. But, man, last year just wasn't good. And I'm like, okay, well, not good. So it was done. It was over.
Like, for example, like even if you wanted to pertain this to college football, you're talking about taking favorites. Let's just say you bet $10 for Ohio State to win every single game.
You're not going to win any money, though.
Yeah, it's probably different than baseball, for sure.
It's just,
baseball, but
there's a lot more games in baseball.
Yeah.
They're playing every day. They've got we haven't even reached the All-Star game, have we?
We're close.
So let's see. I was just looking at the standings. They played how many games did I see? They played 70, 81. Right, almost at the halfway mark.
Yep. So we're getting there.
We'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. I'm going to start doing that. I am going to start doing that. Make a note, and we can track it. Track it.
Do a little experimenting to see if it actually works out.
Well, betting, it's betting experiment. That's what we'll call it. Science, in the name of science.
In the name of science.
Or you can, as the listener, tell me a different strategy, something that I'm missing, because there has to be something I'm missing there. And I want to know what it is, because I don't like being dumb about things, especially when they're obvious. Atlanta currently leading the National League East with a commanding 6 games over Miami. Cincinnati, just a half a game in front of Milwaukee after that Big 12 game winning streak. Arizona, they have only a 2.5 game lead over San Francisco. So, and the Dodgers are right there. The AL West, man, is tough. Arizona, San Francisco, and the Dodgers, 3 games separate them. And they've all won 43 games or more. The Reds have won 41. They lead the Central Division. They would be in 3rd in the East. They would be in 4th in the American League West. Not that it matters. But they've got to get a little bit better pitching, man. Someone noted that the Reds were within a couple runs of sweeping the Braves, but they threw a bunch of minor league pitching at them.
Yep. Lost 2 games back-to-back, 7-6 scores.
2 runs. That first game, they just exploded. What was it, 11-10 final?
Mm-hmm. So you could almost say that the Braves were a runaway from sweeping the Reds.
Well, that's true too. They were a run from being They were a run from being swept. You can look at it however you want to.
Yeah.
But for the Reds standpoint, it just shows that they're for real. Atlanta is.
Don't stumble going into the All-Star break is what you don't want to do here. Like, yes, you still have momentum, but these last couple series before you take a break, keep the momentum going into the second half of the season if you're the Reds.
Baseball is the only professional sport, major sport that comes to mind that has this break where it really seems like a break.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there are so many times you can look back and everything is referenced to after the All-Star break. Something, a team is struggling. They've been 6 games back the whole time. Then all of a sudden after the All-Star break, things change, boom. And it's truly a break. And their changes come after the All-Star break in baseball. Eli De La Cruz. That's a question I wanted to ask. I want to find out. He's only been up in the big leagues for it's less than 3 weeks. What is the quickest in Major League Baseball history that a player has hit for the cycle in the majors? He has to be up there. I mean, I'm sure it happened sooner than him, or it would have been made a big deal about it, but that's still got to be pretty close. I mean, how quickly?
Here we go. The youngest player to do so since 1972.
The youngest, but I'm talking about days in.
Either way though, I'm sure it's close.
Yeah, I'm curious on how many. Like he's been in the big leagues for X number of days. It's maybe 17. There we go. That's how you ask. What is the least number of games a major league player has played and hit for the cycle?
If I can find that answer, I'll give it to you. But we do know that he is the youngest to do it. So 1972, that's still 10, 20, 30, 40, nearly 50 years ago, or 51 years ago. Been over half a century since somebody younger than him hit for the cycle.
What is he, 21?
De La Cruz is 21, yes.
Yeah, I wonder how many, what are those shortest time in the league? I mean, that's what he's done has been amazing. Kenneth says 2.5 weeks. What is that? How long he's been in the league? That sounds about right to that answer. But I'm talking about days or games that a player has played before man, you probably have to go.
Minnesota Twins outfielder Gary Ward hit for the cycle in just his 14th MLB game against the Brewers back in 1980.
Well, this has to be second to that because this has to be right on the heels of that.
Here we go, because that was the earliest in an MLB career anyone has ever accomplished that. So
how many games does Eli Cruz play? I mean,
Let's figure this out. We're doing a little digging now.
How many games has Eli De La Cruz played for the Cincinnati Reds? So, yeah, I'll stop. You're talking about it. Oh, like she's talking now. I don't need you to talk. There we go.
15. 50. Wow. So a game away from tying.
No, but wait a minute. That was 3 days ago. But what day was that? He hit for the cycle Friday in Friday's game.
Are you counting days or games?
Games.
Talking about games.
Games. Major League games.
Eli De La Cruz hit his cycle 15 games into his career.
Okay.
That's what I'm reading.
Missed it by a day, a game.
But from tying it, yes.
That's nuts.
So there you go. About a minute and a half to end the show. There we go. We figured it out.
That's perfect. Well, and it's not me. I know that. Hey, looking forward to tomorrow. We'll have the champion of the College World Series determined, and most likely Kevin Brockway, who is in Omaha, covering the NCAA championship. So look forward to that. Looking forward to the game. And, of course, the great Mike DeCourcy will be with us as well. Chronic Hoosier. Full show lineup tomorrow. Whatever else happens, we'll be on it. Cannot thank Dustin Dopirak enough, JTP, for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, you guys Without you, we have no reason to be here, and we are grateful that you allow us. We're back with more tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat